Yeah, I just kind of want to get into that or whatever, because I know a lot of people, they like, yo, 20K deal, your first deal was 14K, so it's like, you do this stuff, you know what I mean? So I just want you to kind of walk the audience through that 20K deal a little bit.
Yeah, so I got this lead in probably in the beginning of like the COVID and things like in March of this year,
Right.
2020. And it was actually a driving for dollars lead.
Nice.
And it was a property that I saw was distressed, so I put it down in Deal Machine app and started sending out like postcards to that address, and then got a call in, and I actually got a call in from the owner's girlfriend,
Mm,
and they were interested, in selling the property.
yeah.
And the deal is with that property, the owner father passed away because it was the father's property. And
Mm,
so now the son was in the process of probate, inheriting this property and
sure.
going through that whole process of probate. And so they just let me know, hey, we still have to go through probate. We we want to sell this house, but with COVID and everything, a lot of the courthouses and departments, they're really slowed down. Some of them are closed and different things like that.
Mhm.
And still over the phone, I still got a good amount of information like about the condition of the property. The structure foundation was sound, but it was never updated. So a lot of cosmetic work. There's a little bit of like mold and stuff like that, but everything could have been fixed.
Right.
And so I got that information, and she actually sent me some photos, different things like that, because I was just letting her know, hey, with COVID and everything, we're able to get deals done remotely, just over the phone. You just let me know the conditions, send me some pictures, like we don't need to walk through the property.
Right.
And so yeah, so she sent me photos. They gave me a price in mind. At the time they were looking for, I believe it was around 70,000 for the property. And the
Right.
property is in a good area around like where I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. A good rental area. Property all fixed up is probably worth around 170, and they're looking for 70,000. So I knew right away it was a deal.
Sounds like
But
already.
right. But that's like if you would flip the house, and make it really nice. But if you were rented, it could probably rent for around 1,000 or 1,100 a month.
Okay.
So just taking that into consideration and knowing most likely my buyer would be like a landlord, I know I needed it to get a little bit lower than the 70,000. So
Right.
I just told them, hey, I'll follow up with you. I'll run some more research on the property and different things like that, and
Mhm.
give you all an offer. And so I called them later, and I just offered them. I believe my offer was around. It was like around $50,000.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, they weren't interested at the moment with that price, but
Right.
um, I know that I had to be at that number in order for it to work for a landlord,
Mhm.
in order for them to put money into the house and get money back when they rent the property out for around 1,000, 1,100 a month. And so from there, they're telling me, hey, we're getting other offers. We're talking to other investors and
Of
different things like
course.
that. So of course, but I kept them in my follow-up lead because I knew it was a hot deal, good area, and they were motivated to sell. So this was like back in March or April. And so I would just follow up with them once a month. Hey, how's it going with the probate process? How are you guys doing during this time, during the pandemic, and different things like that? And we started on the phone. I just ended up texting them with the follow up because it seemed like they prefer texting. So,
Mhm.
and all my communication was done directly with the girlfriend, not even the son of the property owner. She
Right.
was just a communicator. And so we're just texting. I just check in here and there. And yeah, they're telling me, and then eventually end of July, or no, end of August, they were done with probate. And they had to do different things before that. Like they had to list the property in order to make it known to like any debtors or anybody. That's
Mm.
just the process of probate. like if there was any liens or judgments on the property. And so all of that was done and they were ready to close. And so I actually viewed the property and I walked the property and saw the property with them, got to build more rapport with them,
Right.
just connect with them. And they have a little baby and different things like that. So that was really nice. And so I just kept on building rapport with them and just checking up on them. And then I gave them an offer. I was like, yeah, I'm still around 50,000. Like I didn't change my price, even though they were looking at $70,000.
Right.
And of course on my channel, I document the whole process and I actually show like my audience the text message receipt of that deal, which is crazy.
Right.
And just that whole follow-up. And so eventually, they were ready to sell, but I just wasn't budging on price. And so they came back to me and said, hey, can we do 60,000? So they went down on price. So I was like, okay, I got something here. And then I sent them an offer. Hey, the best I can do was like $53,500, like a random unique number, to show that like I was really thinking about it, like doing my repair costs and everything. And they're like, oh, I can't do that. Can we do 58,000? And I was like, okay, 58,000 is what I can do. And so, when they told me that, I knew it was a deal, but I said, hey, if we can do 58,000, we need to get an agreement done today, and I need access to the property. And so they were like, yes, 100%. So I sent them the contract, docu-signed it, they signed it. And then, but I still had to show the properties to my cash buyers. And so they were still hesitant on me like getting access completely to the property without them being there because they had some valuables in the property. Gotcha. So whenever I showed the property, the seller was actually there. Even though the property was vacant, they came on the appointments.
Right. Interesting.
Okay. And so with that, they, I show cash buyers the property and I just let the sellers know, my partners and investors, the people who fund this fund this property are going to need to see this property. And so that's kind of how I phrase things. And I know a lot of beginner wholesalers are like, how do you, deal with the seller being at the house, or different things like that.
It didn't always work that smooh, man. I've had
right.
kind of snake me before, man, for real. Like literally and stuff, like right in front of me type stuff. Like, fight,
Wow, that's crazy.
Good old Chicago.
right. Well, and it's crazy because even I'm always hesitant of that. Of course, I prefer it to be vacant, just me and the buyer there. But I let the seller know that, hey, these are my partners, they're my investors, they fund the deal. And I let my buyers know, hey, the seller's going to be there. If you have any questions about the house, the price of the house, just keep communication between me and you, just to respect the seller's time and their area and different things like that. And so I let the seller know and buyers know, communications through me. Like, because you have to kind of show that authority and, control the deal as much as you can.
100%.
And so that's what happened. And I only had one showing actually. And only 2 buyers came out. Both of them sent offers. I was like advertising this property for around $80,000. And I got it under contract at 58. Right.
The right way.
No, so that would have been a $22,000. Wait, I actually was like 83,000, so it would have been like 25,000. I think I was trying to make 25 grand, but 2 buyers came. One buyer messaged me later. Another buyer was just right there, and I knew he was more serious about it. And so I just talked to him right after we reviewed the property. He gave me an offer like 75,000. I said, hey, the lowest I can do is 78,000 because I wanted to hit 20K because I never hit 20K yet on a wholesale deal. So I was like, the lowest I can go is 78,000. And I got to build rapport with the buyer. I think that really helped. And he was okay with $78,000. Because he was talking to me about the different things he does like with his family, and he has like adopted children. So I got to connect with him with that. And so we locked it up at 78K, sent it over to the title company. And yeah, probably closed probably 2 or 3 weeks later after that. So, because the seller has a job and they just needed time off in order to close.
Right.
And the buyer was pretty eager to buy too, just
That's super
was on top
interesting.
of everything, like sent the EMD on time and everything, the deposit. And
So I'm curious
yeah.
though, like, did you have any issues like with the buyer or the seller when it came to your assignment spread? Because I'm sure a lot of wholesalers watching this, they're like, oh man, well, how did you know what I mean? Like everyone knows, well, how got like, so
Right.
how did you go about, like, or did you have any type of conversations like that where anyone was balking or anything?
Well, I mean, with the seller, I didn't have to communicate anything because, they knew I was making money and they knew I was bringing investors in. But because of COVID, like the title companies here, the seller and buyers, they don't meet together. And
Mhm.
so like a seller signs and then the buyer signs. So it's separate interactions. And then if they look at the HUD statement, it's already done. Like if they see the 20K, there's nothing they can do about that. Like at closing, once they come, like they don't know how much I make until they sign the papers and get the HUD statement. So, um, and
So
so
you
it's
said you
like,
just worked it out. You're like, look,
right. And then with the
maybe
buyer,
it is
yeah,
what it is,
exactly.
dude.
Right. And so with the buyer, yeah, because I send them the assignment contract beforehand and they see that I'm making 20 grand.
Mhm.
But the thing is, when you build enough rapport with the buyer and they understand what you're doing. I say, hey, I worked hard for this deal. I've been following up with the seller for 6 months. I put time and money and energy into this thing. So
Mhm.
I know this is a deal, and if you don't want it, I have buyers who are submitting offers on this deal. And
Straight.
so I just let them know that, and um, you know, they would buy. And I'm fine with not going with the buyer if my fee is too high for them, because I'm all like, okay, well, I totally understand. I have another buyer in place. But
Mhm.
with this particular buyer, I mean, he buys properties from other wholesalers, and so he's seen assignment fees before, and so he's used to the whole process. He thought I was gonna make like around 10 grand, but I was making 20 grand. But like he even mentioned it, but he was all like, it's whatever, it's fine. I'm getting a house and another rental property because he's trying to build his portfolio, and so for him it was no big deal. And
You need to
yeah, and
get some of
so
that Biz Matthew coaching on how to get these deals out here.